for Mind the Game. Anyone?
We got a wine opener out there. Do my mom got my wine still?
Please welcome to the stage Steve Nash and LeBron James.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay.
Let's go. Not bad, right?
This ain't bad, Steve.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad. Not bad.
Great turnout.
Wow.
Great turnout. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Well, this is Mind the Game from Fanatics Fest. Brought to you by Nike. This is actually our last episode of the season.
Wow.
So congrats to us. Thank you for all the listens, supports, likes, comments, subscriptions, everything. It's been really an incredible year for us to kind of get a chance to talk hoops, hopefully share some of our experiences, dig into some things around the game that we're passionate about, and today will be no different than that. But a little vino.
I mean, right? We don't do an episode without opening up a bottle of wine. That's just what we do. So, you know, that's how we always kick it off, man. But we're happy to be here. We appreciate y'all. New York City, stand up. What's up with y'all? And we just want to say thank you guys for allowing us to come talk the game of basketball with y'all, do it at a high level, and we're super appreciative. So, Steve, let's do it.
Let's do it. So who's enjoying the NBA Finals? Game 7. So we have, Game 7, right?
Wow.
We have the 20th Game 7 in NBA Finals history, if the Googles are truthful, which is incredible, right? Like, we've both played in Game 7s. I want to hear more about your Game 7, particularly in the NBA Finals. But let's also pay some respect to these two incredible teams. Oklahoma City, yes, Oklahoma City. Any OKC fans out there? Okay, a few. Any Pacers fans out there?
What happened?
Why would that be?
What's wrong? Okay, I get it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately for Knicks fans, this Pacers team, though, we have to say is one of the greatest stories in NBA history. Like it or not. I mean, a lot of players that were cast aside, that have been on the trade block, that have been maybe not NBA playoff rotation guys, quote unquote, who have absolutely come together to play fantastic basketball. We've said it before on the pod, coaching staff deserves a lot of credit too, but you see a lot of the ingredients of great basketball teams. IQ, connectivity, toughness. Their defense has gone to another level. What have you seen in the Pacers?
I mean, I think you just said it perfectly, Steve. I think when it comes to the two teams that's in the finals right now, obviously both of them are respected and have earned it. You know, and with the Pacers team, obviously you guys saw a lot of them too the last round, but you know, the way they move the ball, the pace and space that they play with, I think, you know, the best gift that the Pacers have is the unselfishness of Halliburton. I think his ability to get off the ball early, you know, get the ball back in semi-transition, but just the ball has so much energy, and to see what the Pacers are doing, you know, with their pace and space, you know, getting the ball up, you know, letting Pascal, you know, go against the defense before it's set. You know, I think it's a great way to the game of basketball that the Pacers are playing right now.
For sure. I would say this about Tyrese. I think he's one of the greatest simple early passers I've ever seen. You know, sometimes when you have great vision like Tyrese, you want to hold it to make that that killer pass.
Yeah, that home run. Right.
You think I can get something better, and you might hold it for a second. I think we've both felt that at times.
Right.
But sometimes he just gets rid of it, and what that does is it makes the defense unsettled because they can't cheat, they can't help, they're always in a bind. So I think he's one of the greatest simple early passers of all time, and a big part of their success. For sure. What's up, young fellas? You see someone up here you like?
Yes, sir, I see it.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's talk about some things that we learned this year in the NBA. I got 3 bullet points. The first one being pace and depth.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit your perspective on how those two are fit together and how that's changed compared to maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
No, I mean, I just think it's been, present all year. How quickly Cleveland ran their sets from start to finish. Obviously, the 2 teams that we have in the finals. That pace and that depth to be able to continue the energy. The energy does not die down when they make substitution patterns. We talked about in one of our pods when TJ McConnell comes into the game, their pace actually goes higher. You know what I'm saying? So, when Alex Caruso and those guys come in the game, and also, those guys, it just ramps up. So to have that pace and that quickness getting in and out of your sets, having the depth that they have, it allows you to always be energized. And those guys are playing they're playing high-level basketball, as close to 48 minutes as we've seen in a long time.
It's great. I mean, you nailed it. And I think we went through an era where we were trying to find 3 stars.
Right.
But what happens when you have a team built on 3 stars if it's not built from the ground floor up, like through the draft? When you sign free agents, you have 3 stars, what happens is, 1, you're at risk for injuries derailing your team. But 2, the game is played so fast and so physically nowadays, the 3 stars have a hard time keeping that level at both ends of the floor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of falls apart, both ends. And so we're seeing these 2 teams with depth. I mean, Rick Carlisle's rolling out guys who weren't even on the team earlier in the year. Tony Bradley wasn't even in rotation.
Right.
Guys are fluctuating in and out of the rotation. Like Mathurin played himself out of the rotation at times here, having a big impact in the finals. So that depth becomes so important so they can keep up the physicality and pace. It's been really interesting to see the 2 teams, one built from the ground floor, one just built by, quote unquote, scraps around the league they put together that were undervalued, and we're seeing them come together and play beautiful basketball. So I agree with you.
Now, you got to think that some of the biggest guys in this finals that's making impact are, like you said, that was guys that were even given up from a previous teams. You look at Neesmith.
Right.
I feel like
Toppin.
Obi Toppin. I feel like here Obi Toppin didn't get an opportunity to flourish as much. Neesmith, he was drafted by Boston, didn't get an opportunity to flourish. You look at Hartenstein, now with OKC. What he was able to do for y'all franchise last year, but bring that toughness to the OKC Thunder. Alex Caruso, obviously, we've seen what he's been able to do, but all these complementary guys is what build teams, is what build winning programs and winning franchises. And like you said, I played in the era as well as of the Big 3 era, but it's looking like now the game is starting to shift again to how can we create the most depth, but also how can we create the most energy life?
Right.
How can we have the most shelf life out on the floor, to be able to sustain, sustain an injury or sustain a run throughout the course of a game where guys are coming in and it's infectious all game long. So you said it.
Right. Right now you have to be able to continue to play with pace and physicality. If your pace and your physicality drops, you're going to go through a period of the game where you're going to give up a 10, 15-point run. How are we doing here? Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
So the next bullet point, you guys want LeBron to wave again? There we go. The next bullet point I have is defensive speed.
Yeah.
Teams are playing with pace. They're spreading the floor so far. You have to have speed. You got to have an abundance of speed to be able to cover bigger spaces than we had to cover in previous generations.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 2 teams now when you talk about the defensive speed, they're so far different in contrast, but they're kind of similar and same. You look at OKC, it's a lot of guys that's super scrappy, super flying around. They do a good job of being in the gaps, getting out the gaps, making you drive, and then when the ball hits the paint, it's like a swarm. Like all 4 or 5 guys are in the paint, either reaching for the ball, getting taps, loose balls, and if the ball hits the ground, first to the ground. You know, and you look at the contrast with them and now the Pacers, they have a lot more lengthier guys. You know, like you said, Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, you know, Nesmith, you know, Miles Turner, you know, a lot of even Tyrese is rangy as well. So, you know, contrasting styles are very different, but the speed, the way they play, and the physicality that they play with defensively are very similar.
And mobility.
And mobility,
You got to be able to move in different directions, cover guys with different responsibilities.
Yeah, you don't have many teams in our league that have 2 or 3 guys that can pick up 94 feet and make you turn.
Right.
The Pacers have Nesmith, Nembhard, you know, TJ McConnell, those guys pick up. OKC, they come in with Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, you know, Cason Wallace. All those guys are coming in and picking up 94 feet, and they just changing the game defensively, trying to wear on you. So there's not many teams in our league that can put 3 or 4 guys out on the floor that can pick up 94 feet and just make you change directions. And that's why these 2 teams are in the finals right now, I think.
Right. Another indicator of the depth for me is matchups. Like, you know, this game is about fights. Like, styles make fights, and so let's break it down to even individual matchups. You know, against the Knicks, you know, Nembhard really struggled with Jalen Brunson, but Nesmith was able to cause him some problems. It flips. So now Nembhard, who grew up playing against Shea, is able to cause Shea some problems.
Right.
Nesmith struggles with Shea, so it's always about a little bit of styles.
Right.
One that I think is really fascinating to me, and I want to give him a big shout out, is TJ McConnell.
Yeah.
He is finding his way into the paint relentlessly against incredible defenders. He's getting by Alex Caruso.
Right,
he's getting by guys like Jalen Williams. These are elite defenders. TJ's a matchup problem for them with his pace, his shiftiness, getting underneath. He's got his little underneath dribble. He's got his little fadeaway. It's so fascinating to me to realize elite defenders can still struggle with different players. Have you seen that in your career?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at TJ McConnell and what he's able to do right now in the finals, I think we all look at it like, how was he able to be so successful? You look at TJ, he's not the tallest guy, not the fastest guy, doesn't jump, doesn't have a huge vertical, you know, but I think it's here and it's will.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about TJ McConnell is that when you look at a scouting report and you read about guys, you know what their go-to moves is. You know what they will want to do. You know what they least like to do. TJ, you don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
It's just so random with TJ. You don't know when he's going to pull up and shoot his mid-range fadeaway in the paint. You don't know if he's going to dribble and Nash dribble all up underneath the basket and then go to his fadeaway. And he's doing that not only when Alex Caruso is guarding him, Cason Wallace is guarding him. He's even done it against Hartenstein and also Chet.
Chet, right.
You know, so he's doing that versus everybody. So I think him not being a player that you key in on certain things that he do, you know what he like to go to, has made him be so successful in the finals so far.
For sure. I think, like you said, you don't know what he's going to do. One thing you do know he's not looking for is the 3, which makes it fascinating because you know, okay, he's not going to pull up for 3. So you think, let me give him a gap. But he uses that gap. Right. He gets momentum.
Yeah, a la Rajon Rondo. That's what made Rajon Rondo so great. Right. You know, the fact that you knew he was not going to be taking any threes, but he ate up the space, and by the time he was up on you, it was too late. And I think TJ has definitely learned. He's found that rhythm, and he's a big-time player. Yeah,
for sure. He uses pace, but he also uses change of pace, and he uses the entire floor. So it doesn't matter if he has to beat his guy at half court, or his guy's dropping to the free throw line, or he's on the sideline, he fakes a pitch and he goes. Yeah. Just incredible intelligence, and he's been, it sounds weird to say, the biggest matchup nightmare in a way other than Pascal. I think Hallie's more of the sets the table. Right. Pascal's been a matchup problem, and TJ's been a matchup problem.
I absolutely agree with you. You just don't know. You don't know what TJ's going to do out on the floor. So it's hard to scout for a guy like that, you know. And you know, like I said, Pascal being a matchup problem for anybody, but also TJ's pace and space, man, and his will to go out there and dominate, you know, at his level. It's fascinating to watch, man. It's great. It's great basketball.
Yeah.
Thank you to our partner Nike for sponsoring this episode. Here's what 2 decades in the NBA taught me about winning. It's not just talent, it's not just opportunity. It's about the choices you make when no one's watching. Those 3 a.m. workouts? Choice. Extra reps while others rest? Choice. Film review sessions deep into the night? Another conscious choice. I've lived this journey from Santa Clara to NBA MVP. And now, Mentoring the next generation, I see different challenges and different pressures. But the fundamental truth remains. The ones who break records, the ones who transform their games, the ones who elevate their teammates, they're all choosing to work harder, making that deliberate decision to push beyond limits, to redefine what's possible. Because in those quiet moments, those grinding hours, that's where winners are built. Winning isn't just something that happens, you make it happen. As Nike would say, you just do it.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, early in the year, the NBA took a little bit of a beating. I think publicly people thought, the game's the same, the regular season doesn't matter, people are playing the same style. We really focused in on that kind of consistently during this podcast season to kind of figure out what is true here, what is, what is great about our game, right? And we've come to the conclusion, we hope you'll agree, the game is amazing.
No, the game is the best it's ever been.
The game is as good as it's ever been for sure. The pace and space era, a lot of threes. Some people can have a problem with that perhaps, but the reality is that's not going away. We're stretching the floor, we're playing with pace, we're playing more jazz than classical. We're not playing off the same playbook every time down, we're playing read and react basketball. So I think once people start to recognize that people are reading and reacting, using their brains, playing on the fly, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
No, absolutely. I mean, you just said it best, Steve. I think the playmaking that goes on in our league. I mean, I remember we did an earlier pod this year in one of our episodes, and you told me in the 1995 season, out of the top 10 points per game leaders, literally there's only one guy in the top 5 in assists. And that was Michael Jordan at the time. And you look at it now, 25, 30 years later, and out of the top 10 scores in the NBA, you have 5 or 6 guys in the top 10 in assists. So the playmaking in our game, the defense, the different matchups that we see in our game, the different variables that you can see defensively, man-to-man, zone, guys are even pressing at times, 2-2-1 press that we haven't seen. I think that's great. It's just it's a beautiful thing to watch our game continue to evolve, and I think it's the sky's the limit. We're going to continue to do that. It's beautiful.
Well, I have to give you a lot of credit for the playmaking. Let's like LeBron said, nowadays you can't just be a scorer. If you're just a scorer, really you come off the bench. You're a 6th man, 7th man, see if you're hot that night. Nowadays, if you want to be an elite player, you have to be a scorer and a playmaker. And I think you were a huge, huge part of that trend. 100%.
Appreciate it.
100%. Yes. What we've seen happen, and I'll use LeBron as one of the pioneers or one of the trendsetters in this way, is we're seeing a big physical athlete that can score, but is also passing, playmaking, but also playing cat and mouse, dissecting the defense, reading the defense, making the defense uncomfortable, making them make hard decisions. So now we're seeing the byproduct of that throughout the league, right? When I came in the league, way ago in the 90s, like LeBron said, guys just come in and score. But nowadays, the defenses have gotten more sophisticated. You have to be able to read and react and play. So LeBron coming in the league, let's not forget, the leading scorer in NBA history, right here. The leading scorer, But also one of the greatest passers and playmakers, right? And one of the best minds for the game. Mind the game? Minds for the game out there. So you put that together, what are we seeing now? We're seeing guys like Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic. You go around the league, you're seeing so many guys that are taking the ball and manipulating the defense and deciding, how are you playing me? Okay, I'll go score the ball this possession. Oh, you want to load up on me? I'm going to go make plays for my teammate. So this trend for me is helping elevate the game of basketball because our lead players are able to do more than one or two things. They're able to do a bit of everything, Swiss Army knife for what the team needs in that moment while still having a huge usage rate.
Absolutely, man. You couldn't have said it better, man. I think our league is at the best place that it's ever been, It's beautiful to watch. You mentioned Luka. You mentioned the Joker, Giannis. So many guys not only can score the ball, rebound the ball, pass the ball, facilitate, think with their mind. it's just a beautiful thing, man. And, and we go back to, we're looking at OKC and Indiana. Both teams built up identities of cohesiveness, innovative offenses and defenses. But it's just beautiful to watch that when the ball moves, player movement, everybody feeling a great rhythm. And that's what the game is all about, that everybody's on the floor feel like they're important to the success. And, to see that with OKC and see that with the Pacers now, listen, the two best words in sports is Game 7, all right? And we all should be lucky to be able to witness a Game 7 tomorrow night for the NBA Finals for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. So it's going to be a beautiful thing, for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
All right.
We got a bunch of, hold up. We got a lot of Knicks fans in here, huh? Yeah. We got any Brooklyn Nets fans in here? Oh man. Damn, Steve.
Yeah.
Was that boo for the Nets or for Steve? Which one? So the Knicks fans, y'all good? Y'all going to the finals next year? Oh, we're gonna see. We'll see.
One of the things I would also say that's been great about the league is watching offense and defense evolve and push the other.
Yeah.
Evolve and push the other. So we're seeing innovative defenses. We've talked about it, switching defenses, which basically take you out of your offense. You run on all these beautiful sets. We're going to switch all that. Now you're on the clock. Now you got to play ISO basketball, and it's a spacing game. So that's why we started playing with pace. Let's get up and down before they can set up, not run sets that they can switch. So trying to play a little bit faster, a little more pace, less walk it down and run sets. So the defense is adapted. They start switching everything. Okay, the offenses start speeding up, right? So now the defenses adapt again. Let's go some zone. Let's pack the paint. Like we say, we're giving up threes. That's a killer. No. Our rim is a killer. Let's pack the paint. Let's keep people out of the paint. Let's be in the gaps like OKC. You're seeing the Pacers do it too.
Right.
We're willing to give up threes, especially on contests, as long as you don't get in on our rim all night. Okay?
Exactly.
So you're seeing that evolve. Then now, the latest one that I think was fascinating this year, coupled with the zone defense and the matchup zones and going zone to man, has been the cutting.
Yeah.
Right. So Indiana's a great example, but there's been others. Cleveland did a great job. Typically in the last 10 years, we've tried to keep the floor space for our playmakers. Give LeBron as much space as possible. My son's teams, they try to shooters so I could get to work, get in the middle, cause problems for the defense. But what we're seeing now is that teams are getting so good at sitting in the lap of the best player.
Get guys cutting,
So guys are starting to cut.
Yeah.
So Indiana's taking it to a whole new extreme. We've talked about, is this where it's going? From the foul line up, you have players flying in and out of that space, regardless of spacing, creating confusion and willing to just move it and play and trust it. You think this is where teams are going to start to evolve?
Well, our league. Our league has always been a copycat league, and I think that teams will try, but you also have to have the right personnel to be able to do the things that OKC and Indiana is doing. Every team is not built the way that they're built, so I think the best thing about our league and the best thing about coaching in our league is being able to adapt to the personnel that you have. I just don't think that every team has the makeup to be able to play with the pace and space of Indiana and OKC. But the good thing about our league is what makes coaching so great in our league is being able to adapt to what you have. Adapt to your personnel, adapt to how you guys play, and then you start that from day one. This is how we're gonna play, and there's gonna be tweaks throughout the season, okay? Maybe that didn't work out quite well for us early on, but you have a nucleus of how you want to play, and you follow that all the way throughout the whole regular season and into the postseason, and hopefully being able to play for a Larry O'Brien Trophy. But it's all about your personnel. If you have the right personnel, the right coaching staff, they'll put them in the right position to succeed.
It's a great point. I think, like high school and college teams, a lot of times the coach has been there for a while, has a blueprint. This is how we do it. Yeah, of course, you adapt and you adjust your team. NBA teams, I think the variance of adaptation is huge. Like, I don't think the Pacers set out this year and said, this is what we're going to be like. I think they built, they adapted, they built again, they added, they subtracted, they built. Same with OKC. They continue to evolve. It's kind of like a living organism, right? So I think it's always fascinating to see how a team starts the year, what they add, what they subtract, how they evolve. I mean, you've been on championship teams. Do you think that's even going at a higher cadence nowadays?
Yeah, I think so. I think you said it right there, man. I think the game continues to evolve, and I think coaching continues to evolve, and they're seeing how much they can press the limit on what they have, and even going further. But also more importantly, like we always talk about, it looks chaotic and it looks random, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and when you have guys with good IQ and cohesiveness, they're able to do things on the floor that to the normal fan you would think is random, you would think it's chaotic, but it's actually very well thought out and very well practiced and very well, you know, demanded.
Details.
Every single detail every single day. So, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing. More teams are going to try to adapt it. More teams are going to try to play with it because it creates. Well, the one thing about our league is being able to create confusion out on the floor for the defenses. Like you said, there's so many different ways that people are throwing you defensively. Man-to-man, zone, 2-2-1 press, box and one, triangle and two. They're trying everything.
Right.
You know, so to be able to create the most confusion you can offensively is going to make you more successful than any team in our league. And, you know, I think that's going to be adapted by a lot of teams.
So that adaptation process can be tricky, right? The number one thing about adapting is buy-in.
Yeah.
Right, buy-in. Winning is a choice. Winning is a choice, and you have to buy in and sacrifice. I want to hear from you a little bit about the sacrifices some of your championship teams made, what that process was like. You start a season, everyone's like, well, I'm going to get off this year. This is my role, and it's always slightly inflated. At some point, everyone has to sacrifice a bit of themselves if you want to be a championship caliber team.
Listen, the only way to win a championship is that everybody is an MVP in their role, you know, and able to sacrifice their own personal stats, personal beliefs for the betterment of the team. You know, there's a pecking order in our team. You guys know who the stars is. You guys know who the role players are. You guys know who the garbage guys are. You know, come in and do all the garbage work, all the, you know, first to the floor, taking the charges, you know, do the things. You guys know who the vocal leaders is. You know who the silent assassins are. There's when that thing is met and it's laid out, not only by the coaches. See, the problem with our league sometimes is that players are always looking for the coaches to make those things happen. It's the players in the locker room that hold each other accountable. That's when you get the best team. When guys can come to the locker room and hold each other accountable and know how to talk to each other, or I'm bad mouthing you, or you saying something to me and not take it personal, because we have one common goal, and that's to win a championship. When you win a championship, everybody eats. Everybody gets paid, everybody's seen, everybody's loved. And that's the only thing that only matters. But it can only happen, the coaching staff can only do so much. The coaching staff gonna put your game plan together. They're gonna tell you this is what we need to do. This is how we're gonna execute. We're gonna give you the game plan. Players gotta go out and do the job. You know, and when the players hold each other accountable, that's when the job gets done. And that's happened on 4 times in my career. I've been able to win 4 championships. And that was one of the number one ingredients, obviously going out and getting the job done too, but just holding each other accountable.
Great message. Great message for young players out there too, not just in the NBA, but high school, college, learning to play, like the responsibility of trying to pick up your teammates, set an example.
Yeah.
1 through 12 has a leadership responsibility, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just the quote-unquote leader.
Right.
Everyone on the team leads by how they behave. Did they get there on time or early? Did they do their extra work? Did they support their teammates? Talk a little bit about your finals teams, win or lose, playing that way to get to the finals. It's got to be like basketball nirvana to be on a team like that you trust and you know every night is going to give themselves a chance to win.
I think the best feeling for me as a player is that when the national anthem is going on, and I usually stand on the end, is that when I can look down the row and I know that I got 11 other guys, 13 other guys that's in the foxhole with me. And I know for sure that if it's a grenade thrown in the foxhole, we don't all stay in there.
Yeah.
Like we want to die for this game. You know, and that is a beautiful feeling when you can look to your left and look all the way down the road. Either if I was teammates with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Udonis Haslem, James Jones, Mike Miller, you know, the rest of the crew. Or if I looked to my left and I saw, you know, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, you know, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, Tristan Thompson, Channing Frye, Richard Jefferson, or Anthony Davis, you know, Alex Caruso, Rajon Rondo, you know, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you know, Danny Green, and looking at my left, just knowing guys that you know that's willing to die for it on the floor and be in the foxhole with you. There's no better feeling than that, man. There's no better feeling than that. Absolutely.
This episode is sponsored in part by American Express. American Express knows that for an obsessive basketball fan like me, the playoffs mean a lot of travel time. Between broadcasting games and catching up with old teammates, I'm on the road almost every week, from Boston to LA and everywhere in between. After all these years, I've learned that the journey is as important as the destination. That's why I've always tried to find a spot to stretch, grab a coffee, and get my mind right before heading over to the arena. Fortunately, there's a card that makes every part of that journey better. With Amex Platinum, you earn 5 times membership rewards points on prepaid hotels and flights booked through AmexTravel.com on up to $500,000 on flight purchases per year. Plus, you get access to the Centurion Lounge, which makes travel that much more enjoyable. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. For more information, visit americanexpress.com/travel.
How y'all doing out there? Y'all good? Do we have time to open it up? Do we have some fan questions?
I think it's time to hit some fan questions. Yeah, what do you think? Should we do this? Anyone send in a tweet with a question?
Did you guys send y'all questions in to us? Okay, I think we got some, right?
Yeah, we gotta have some.
Yeah, we gotta have some questions.
All right, question number 1 from Nahil. Which player would each of you want to play with from a previous era before you were drafted?
So which player from a previous era that we would want to play with? Wow.
Man,
You first, man.
So
You
many,
first, man.
right? There's so many, like,
So many.
you know, like one for me being a point guard, like Magic Johnson.
yeah, man.
Was, I mean, I remember just how he inspired me as a kid. You know, I don't know if I'd want to play with him, but my hero, the one person I tried to emulate was Isaiah Thomas. You know, smaller guard that was just super competitive. And then you go back, you know, Oscar Robertson's, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, you go forever. So that's an amazing question. It's hard for me to pick one. Like I said, my hero was Isaiah Thomas. Magic Johnson was crazy inspirational. But if I had to have like maybe someone that complimented me, you know, that's a fascinating question that I'd love to think about. You know, because the game changes.
Right.
The eras change. I got to play with Dirk Nowitzki and Amari Stoudemire.
Right.
Like 2 great guys that we loved playing together, could complement each other, worked off each other. Like, let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah,
what about you?
When you talk about inspiration, there was nobody more inspiring to me than Michael Jordan. I mean, for me, I think our games would have complemented as well. MJ was a flat-out scorer. You know, he was a scorer. He had a scorer's mentality. If I had to pick him, but I know I can't pick him because I know how social media works. You gonna be like, oh, you want to play with Michael Jordan too? You to play with everybody else, goddammit. I didn't ask the question. I'm only answering it, guys. I didn't ask the question. But MJ was inspiration. Anthony Penny Hardaway was an inspiration to me. Grant Hill was an inspiration to me growing up. Like that point forward, Scottie Pippen, that point forward guys, like Penny, like Grant Hill, like Scottie, those guys kind of inspired me because I kind of wanted to be that point forward. So those are some guys. I can see the headline already. LeBron wants to play with Michael Jordan. Like I said already, it's weird. Don't be weird. Don't be weird.
I like it. I mean, all the guys he named, I think I did play against, so it doesn't really count for me. But
I was gonna say, I think of Kobe, but I actually played with Kobe in the Olympics, so you know, rest his soul. Great Kobe.
Amazing.
Next question.
Yeah, our great director, Jason Gallagher, is giving us questions. What do you got, Jason?
Okay, this one's from Mac Boy. Question for Steve. What advice would you give to LeBron as he nears the back half of his career?
Well, that's a great question. I don't, unsolicited advice, but the biggest thing that I would say is that I understand a lot of where LeBron is right now, and having done this podcast with him, he's actually approaching it in an unbelievable manner. So my advice would be continue. And what is that? What is he continuing? We talked about in episode 1. It's about the process for him. It's about adhering to a standard of trying to get the most out of his game, his body, his mind every single day. Like, that's what this is all about. I want to hear you say this, but talk about it, but that's a way of life, right? Like, how does that feel every day to still be so deep in your process at 40 years old and dominating?
I mean, the process is the only thing that matters to me. You know, I think when you fall in love with the process of what you want to do, and that's with anything. That's not just basketball. That's whatever you guys are aspiring to do, you have to fall in love with the process. The end result will happen organically, and it'll make it so much more worth your while when you fall in love with the process, okay? Like, don't cheat the process. Don't cut corners. Fall in love with the process, and everything else will take care of itself. So that's what I've been able to do for my career. So that's my words of advice to all you guys, the process.
And that goes for everything. That's not just basketball.
That's life, man.
Whatever you want to do in life.
Whatever you want to do.
That's a fulfilling, inspiring way to live. So all you kids out there, like, really try to think about that. Like, what does that mean for you? Like, maybe you haven't found your thing yet, but practice it at school, at sports, music, whatever it is, practice it. Try to get closer to your process. What is a good process system? He's mastered it, right? And that's why you're seeing the results. One thing I'd also like to say that I really admire about LeBron is the way he adapted this season to playing with Luka. You know, that takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of sacrifice. He approached this as a gift and an opportunity to make a team as good as it could possibly be. Now, it was slammed together quick. You know, they lost early in the playoffs, but I think we saw the seeds of a team that was this close to going deep in the playoffs, making a run for a title. As that roster builds, the possibility's there. You can't do that unless you're willing to sacrifice and grow and play slightly different. Play in a way that complements your teammates. So my advice would be those two things. Continue to find that sacrifice. It's not like his numbers dipped. He just did it in different ways. Right. But that's hard for players who have played 15, 18, 20, 22?
22.
22 years in the league. So, you know.
Jay, we got one more. One more. Last question, Jay.
Yeah, one more. Rock asked the question. We went from the Big Three era to the era of depth. What do you believe could be the next iteration of roster development that define team success in the future?
That's an easy answer for me. You find a guy like Wemby. If you can find a guy, oh my goodness, Wemby, I was just standing next to him while we were shooting the shop. This guy, I feel like he's grown another 2 or 3 inches for sure in the offseason. But I mean, the game is going to continue to evolve. You know, like you said, the Big Three era had its moment. The Big Three era has always had its moment. You know, way before myself, D-Wade, and Bosh came together. You know, you had, Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, they played together. You know, you had so many guys that's the Big Three era. So
Bird, Parrish, McHale.
Exactly. Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, so like, the Big Three era will always kind of be there, but having depth, having been able to have the ability to bring in multiple guys that can do multiple things, I think that's the era that we may fall into. But whatever era and however the game shapes itself, just know, guys, that we listening to y'all and we're gonna put the best product on the floor every single night because we hear y'all talking and we know y'all love our game. So I appreciate it. I really thank you, for real. Absolutely. That's
Season 2.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Happy you, buddy.
Thanks for watching Mind the Game. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe for more content.